Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this is episode 2 of Son of a Preacher Man, and this is the one where I just do the current event thing. And obviously, this is Tuesday. This is November 10th. My birthday is in 2 days. I'll be 49 years old, which is, let's talk about that. Well, first of all, it's a great day, and this is going to be a great birthday because evil was defeated. You know, America has proved that we're better than that, and maybe not by much, we're not that much better, but we are better than that. And I believe that a lot of people voted ideologically and were able to look past the things that I think they will be appalled of as we dig into what really has gone on over the last 4 years. I feel like there's a lot of people that over the next 2 years, when they really drag into the light the sick shit that was going on, and I'm talking about the kids in the cages on the border that weren't even kept in the cages, they put them in hotel rooms, which I doubt that was for their comfort. But I think there's going to be, as the good book says, all things done in darkness will eventually come to light, and that's what's going to happen. And I think it's more than a repudiation of evil. I think it's just as much a validation of the rules of the universe. No one escapes the rules of the universe. And I know this fucker looked like no rules applied to him. He just was able to just, no, I'm going to lie, and I'm going to say whatever I want, and I'm going to fuck people over. I'm going to break the law. That's the thing. We're going to see so much is going to come out that you're going to be like, oh my God, I didn't support that. I think you're going to hear a lot of people over the next year saying, well, if I'd known about that, I never would have voted for him. You know, and I think that's going to be a very common refrain. What's the real dirt? That Stephen Miller, I mean, he doesn't, you know, sometimes you can't judge a book by its cover. He not just looks evil, he fucking is, don't touch him. He's pure evil. It's pure evil, I tell ya. Like, he just, I cannot, in many ways, that's the thing. I mean, the rules of the universe are such that no one gets away with everything forever. You just don't. Eventually, it catches up with you. And with this, I think that like I said, a lot of people are going to just say, I didn't realize all that was going on. And these guys, it looked like they were going to just get away with whatever they wanted for the, you know, just get away. And, you know, as William Barr even says, like, well, history's written by the winner. That's how convinced they were that they could never be knocked off from their perch. And if anything, so the rules of the universe apply to everyone. It doesn't, and at the end of the day, this guy, he's just a man. He's just a man. And you know he's just a man. You don't want to know how the rules of the universe are real. Because for all of his, you know, be loyal and running around and having his rallies and everybody love me, he still had to go home and sleep alone every night in a room separate from his own wife, who detested him, the touch of him, the look. She clearly disgusted by the man. Didn't sign up for any of this. And so he still had to, and that's why we had all the crazy tweeting at night, because nobody was loving him. Nobody was actually in bed with him, holding him and talking sense to him. Nobody. So he just twisted. And it's another thing, he's a teetotaler. And listen, I don't trust teetotalers. And I'm not saying, listen, you want to be sober, you want to be, okay, I support that. I really do. But people who are teetotalers, it's different from people who are sober and are in recovery as to people who just don't do it, okay? There's something about perfect sobriety that I believe is very bad. Because the mind, if you don't change the latitude a little bit, it just twists and twists. And that's how bad ideas really take hold. Because there's no interruption in that tension. And that's the purpose of these alleviants that we have, both naturally and unnaturally. And then, of course, we go too far with those, as I do. Everybody does. But and that's not to say, hey, wasted's the way, man. That's not what I'm saying. But I do believe that the mind needs relief. And if you look at teetotalers, I mean, Hitler was a teetotaler. I'm not saying Trump's Hitler because we didn't let him be. But that's the thing. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful week. You could tell the energy's changing. Everything's changing. There's positivity. Biden's creating a cohesive plan. And again, I'm no Democrat. I know this. If anything, I was like, you put up this doddering old man versus this fucking tank of hatred. And it's like, if we'd lost, I would have completely put it on them for having put Biden up there. Luckily, it was just enough. And the recounts, lawsuits, whatever. And that's the thing. He counts. He's like, I made all these judges. He's going to learn the real nature of politics. When nobody takes his calls anymore, as soon as he's fully out, it's going to be a cold wind blowing out of Washington. He's going to be trying to show back up. It reminds me of, in comedy clubs, like, especially in New York, we saw this a lot. So someone would get, and I've seen it in LA with this, someone gets to become the booker of a club. And you become the booker of a club, and everyone is up your ass, okay? Everyone, because everybody wants to be booked. So there's the few guys. And if a club has seen you and they're not booking you, the only hope you have is regime change, which happens a lot in the city clubs, but not so much in like the road clubs, which are all the middle, because they're almost 100% of the time, the owner is the booker. And so if the owner doesn't like you, you're not gonna get booked there. But these other clubs, like in New York City and Los Angeles, some places, like the Improvs and stuff, well, the Improvs, that's a corporate thing, and their managers, a whole other fucking, thorn bush there. But you could just wait for regime change, and then the new booker would come in, and then hopefully that booker liked you, and then all of a sudden the lineup would change, and you might find yourself on it. So they would get, but what would happen is these bookers, their heads would explode, because here you have some of the smartest, funniest, brilliant people in America, because when you're talking about New York and LA, you're talking about celebrity comics, veteran comics, new comics, all the levels are here, and they're all after this same person. So their heads fucking bam, okay? But then they would lose their job, because they always change bookers. If you're not the owner booker, you're eventually going to get replaced. And all of a sudden, you don't have that power anymore. And guess what happens? Nobody gives a fuck about you anymore. You're fucking and it's so sad when then they still try to come around and act like, hey guys, doesn't everybody want to buy me a drink and hang out? He's like, no, motherfucker, nobody wants to talk to you. Not that we don't like you. You're welcome to come hang out. But the ass kissing and the playing up to and the fake conversation, that's gone. And and so they only hang around for a minute, and then they usually go and start something else that they can book again, because they desperately miss the validation of a million comedians up their ass. So we've seen that over and over again, and it's kind of sad when it happens, because they're like, what do you mean? You guys don't all want to? You don't want to love me? It's kind of funny, especially if they didn't book you. Then it's kind of fun to watch, and that's what we're gonna see here. This guy's about to see that from all. He's like, but guys, I'm fucking Trump. I made you gotta give it to me. I made you. And they're gonna be like, kabam. That's gonna be fun to watch. And I know he thinks that not only does he have that with everyone, with all the people in Congress, but I think he thinks he gets to retain that with the judges he appointed. He obviously is under the impression that the three stooges he put on the court have to give him whatever he wants. He just goes in front of him and is like, this is what I want. But the fact of the matter is at the end of the day, Chief John Roberts, he doesn't know him nothing. He didn't put him up there. And don't be surprised when John Roberts is like, And I'll tell you something else. If he goes before the Supreme Court to try and get this thing, and he gets just those three that he appointed, and they are the three lone dissenting opinions, and it becomes a 4-3, if that were to happen, I'm going to say it's going to happen. I don't even think it's going to get to the Supreme Court. But if it were to happen, again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like everybody else. I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. That's something that, okay. Anyways, if just those three, I think that would be the obvious cause to impeach those three judges. They obviously were not using their judgment. They were using, their commitment to this one dude. So I think at that point, you have an impeachable offense. But that's just me. That's my opinion. But that's what's been so crazy. I feel like we all feel like we could stop being fucking armchair lawyers and armchair fucking virologists and armchair constitutional lawyers and expert, and historians, armchair historians. Like, we've got to wear all these hats because of these stupid arguments that keep coming up. And like, why? But I don't see why. And you have to fucking, here's why. Here's why. And then, well, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Really, it's science. Science doesn't have to be believed. It just is. Whether you believe it or not. All right, this is where we've been. This is where we've been. I'm just caught up between, like, no, this is, okay. And now that can all hopefully dissipate. We can all speak with logic and sense and be nice to each other, hopefully, and not try and put each other down. And that's the thing. I'm not saying I look forward to other people, I'm not going around like, you're fucking stupid. No. What I'm saying is a lot of people, when we see the true, because I believe there's some real dirt. Not just, you don't even have to, the emoluments clause, anyways. The point is, I think there's real dark shit that's going to come out that's going to make a lot of people say, if I had known that. Just remember that I said that. There's going to be a lot of, if I had only known. If I had known that. That's what's going to happen. But you know what? Listen. I'll be honest. I'm the son of a preacher man. Doesn't make me, I'm not saying I'm a good Christian. I'm just saying I was raised with certain belief systems. And there are times in life, no matter who you are, where, the come to Jesus, where you, whether it's a personal thing, whether someone you love has just been diagnosed with cancer, or there are moments in life where you're on your knees and you're looking up at that sky and you're hoping someone's listening. Because let's be honest, there are a lot of moments in life where you really feel like God's not listening. Listen, I love fantasy football, but I have 2 leagues. One of my leagues can do no wrong, one can do no right. And there have been times like, God, you think God gives a shit about fantasy football? He doesn't give a shit about real football. I was trying this joke for a while too, where I was like, I was saying, if God really cared about sports, then you'd think like, Abilene Christian would somehow have this powerhouse team that magically beat Alabama. And how does Abilene Christian do it? Well, God loves sports. And they're the most Christian. So every year, this tiny little school has the best football team. Because the ball because God he really loves sports. He cares about sports. God don't give a fuck about sports. But in life, we do have moments where we find ourselves on our knees. And I know that's what she said. And that's the thing. That's what's amazing to me. Because, you see the pictures of people, God-fearing people, with their Trump hats outside, praying outside of the Clark County voter register, God, change the numbers. Because unfortunately, religion, and I say religion, because it's religion. It's not spirituality. It's not God. It's not Christianity. It's a faith. It's not the faith. It's religion. One of the big selling doctrines is basically treating God like genie. I remember growing up in the 90s, there was a doctrine, this one TV minister had, name it and claim it. Name it and claim it. Name it and claim it in the name of God, and you're going to get it. No, you're not. God's not a genie. You don't rub a lamp, ask him for 3 wishes, and he changes things for you. That's not how it works. But they love selling that concept. They love selling the idea that God's a genie. God ain't a genie. Just pray for something he doesn't want you to have and see what you get. Because God is just like Hollywood. No answer is your answer. But back to what I was saying. We all have moments where we find ourselves in absolute desperation. We turn our face to God. Sidebar, another sidebar. This is why I always try to keep it. I've always kept an open dialogue with God. I've always seen him as a friend, as a father figure, as a friend who wants to have wants to be a part of your life, you know. And I know that. I don't think he wants to control your life. I don't think he wants you to make your choices and do your thing, but he wants to be there. He wants to celebrate with you. He wants to cry with you. He wants to help you. He does want to help you. Listen, I have had moments in life where I know God reached out of the sky and helped me. It's always real obvious, but it was never for something stupid or frivolous or, you know, but I will say this, on Tuesday, I think it was on Thursday rather. The election was on Tuesday. Wednesday, we don't have a decision. Thursday, we don't have a decision. And it's just wearing on all of us like a 1,000-pound cloak. And I looked out this window, and I'm looking up the sky, and I don't think I've ever prayed with greater weight and pressure in my heart. I've never strained to reach the ears of God the way that I did that day. We all know what was on the line, and it was more than ideology. It was more than anti-Trump. I mean, when you talk about, you know, seniors losing their Social Security and their Medicare, and people, thousands of people, you know, the insurance companies being able to claim pre-existing conditions when you have a sister who's in need of a kidney transplant and whose body was betrayed her in the womb. She was born. Talk about pre-existing. She is the definition. She's existing conditions from the moment that she was born. And I don't think I've ever more fervently stared into the sky and prayed to God for a miracle, for good to triumph over evil. And I really believe that that's what this was. So, was my prayer answered? Why would my prayer matter more than the people praying that the numbers would magically change for Trump? Why did my prayer win over their prayer? No, I don't think so. I think the rules of the universe played out. I was scared, obviously, just like everybody else, and we all reached out to God, but at the end of the day, I think he already knew. He knew, listen, this man has bought and paid for his ticket out. He is done, and I think it was the kids, the abuse of the children at the border. It's one thing to not let people in. It's another thing to separate kids, to emotionally destroy the parents who dared to save them by bringing them here, and to show utter callousness towards children. And let me tell you something. There are some things that the rules of the universe are kind of sensitive to, and it is one, the way you care for the elderly, and it is two, the way you care for children. Probably children, you know what I mean? Like the way you care for your parents is really what I mean. The way you care for your parents and the way you care for children. I think the universe, and your spouse, the spouse relationship is another thing. Let me tell you something. You stand up in front of a church and God and say, listen, the universe hears that, and they hold you to it. So there's certain relationship dynamics that I feel the universe is particularly sensitive of. And the way you treat children, suffer the little children to come unto me. And Trump, this fake fucking non-Christian, that's what else drives me crazy. This guy's a rhino. He's a rhino. He's a Republican in name only. And that's the other thing. When a guy that I do a podcast with literally called him our Lord and Savior. Listen, that was the language that doomed him. Okay? Because you start making him God. You saw did you see the fan art where Trump's face was on the Jesus body on the cross? When I saw that stuff, I'm like, universe ain't gonna like this. better watch out now. Because the universe is listening. It's always listening. And it saw that and it was like, oh, you think he's a god? Well, we'll see. I'm going to just make him a man. And he is. He's just a man. Just like we're all, and I'm just a man. So it was my prayer. What did it? No, of course not. But it was the outpouring that I needed to make to feel better at the time. Was it my prayer? I don't know. Was it yours? Was it all of ours? Was God involved? I think he knew. He was like, no, the rules of the universe apply to everyone. He has put himself in this position. And listen, guys like him, even if he won this one, let's say he won this one, they got the Senate, they abolished term limits, and this guy keeps going. One of the great things about, teaching stand-up is that I get to have this experience where I hear all these different stories from all people. People come here and they want to try stand-up from all over the world. And so I hear a lot of these great stories from people that grew up in Europe and Australia and everywhere else. And so this one guy, he grew up, I believe it was in Yugoslavia before the whole thing broke apart. And he was talking about how they had a dictator. And he won, I think it was 12 elections in a row by unanimous decision. He won 12, by landslide, he won every 12 in a row. And on the 13th, they dragged his body through the streets. So it happened. Everyone is, they're just men. They're just people. They're subject to the rules of the universe. Everybody dies alone. I mean, these things don't change. And all this stuff that we build, you don't get to take it with you. I mean, that doesn't change. No matter how many buildings he puts his name on, you don't get to take it with you. And it doesn't matter when you're laying there all alone by yourself, your wife doesn't love you, but you can't go out and, show that you need love because then you're weak. Well, then you sleep alone every night. That had to be hard. That can't be easy. And listen, when he got COVID, I had sympathy, I don't want anybody to get it. So, what I think ultimately proved itself out, and I've said this many times, the ultimate success of the United States of America is its diversity. As much as this administration tried to deny that and make it all about suppressing the diversity and putting them underfoot, our diversity is our strength. Because when you look at bad ideas in other countries that have taken on, and everyone always looks at, Hitler and, but there's been lots of these guys. It's always in a monocultural society. Because then when you're all kind of one thing, you can kind of it's easier for a bad idea to take over when you're all kind of the same genetic code. And that's why I think we've been so successful as a country, because we don't just see it through one perspective. We see it through their perspective and their perspective and their perspective. And that informs the developmental process of everything from the ground up, from education to food. Everything becomes informed by this diversity. And I think that's what's made us, given us the ability to advance and make so much money and have all these, incredible inventions and breakthroughs as a society, as a country, because of our diversity. Just look at that movie about the NASA missions, Ordinary Heroes, I think it was, or Everyday Hero, the one about the black women who were doing all the math. I mean, they needed their diversity. We have to stop fighting diversity and embracing it. You have to stop. And again, here's the other thing. I don't understand racism. I don't get it. Because it's literally like you're trying to buy a car and you're like, whatever you do, don't get a blue car. What do you mean? But it's a really well-made car. Listen, that's fine. But get a red one or a white one or whatever. Just don't get blue. What's wrong with blue? Dude. Everybody knows you can't trust blue cars. It's blue. And that's what this is. You're looking at it, you're like, I don't like the blue, you can't trust any blue cars, but that blue car is worth millions of dollars, and that red car is a piece of shit. I'm telling you right now, go with the red car. You can't, I don't care how much money it's worth. It's blue. You can't trust blue cars. That is literally the distinction being made. We're all humans, and you're just saying, oh, but I don't like the color, so you're low IQ. It's so dumb. Racism is so stupid. I want to try this joke on you too. I want to try this. Okay. Tell me if this is stupid. I don't know. Because I do believe this. And actually there was a piece of news that came out about this that I think actually kind of validates this. Okay. I'm not a racist, but or I would hope that I'm not I don't think I'm a racist. And here's how I know I'm not a racist. All right. I think there is a direct correlation between the explosion of porn and the explosion of racism. Hear me out. You know, heretofore, before our current age of being able to just bloop, bloop, porn. Blah, blah. Oh, really quickly. Trump's dancing at the rallies. You had to, the way he kept doing the two dick dance. He just kept going, oh, look at me, I'm sucking dicks. Like, that was his dance. All right. Back to the racism porn joke. Okay, before this, you had to go out and find porn or to see porn. You know, had to go to a seedy theater and just like whatever they were showing, that's what you were watching. You kind of just picked between hetero and homo. That was it. You just you got what you got. But then, you know, with the video stores and VHS, then it started getting a little more particular. You go in there, but you know, sections you didn't want to see, you just didn't go in that section. You knew going in there what you were looking for, and you would kind of like, oh, here it is, oh, girls gone wild, spring bring. All right. But now, you know, you just, and up comes a screen with 40 thumbnails of white girls sucking black cock. And I'm not racist. I can enjoy this. But if I were a racist, and I'm sitting there with my racist dick in my hands, and all I see are white girls chomping on cocoa cocks, I can see where I'd be a little triggered. I think I can see where I would feel like they're fucking all out because you're seeing it right there in your face. They're doing the Trump dance. Like, I could see where that would make you feel like they're stealing all your women, which they're not. Because here's the good news. I don't feel like a lot of these girls are going to be doing that again. I feel like some of them are going to be looking for a comfort ride after that shit. I'm not doing that again. I don't want to cry every time I give a blowjob. Some girls do. And for those girls, I'm of no use to you. But for the girls who are looking for, you know, a comfortable ride, a dependable ride, I'm the Ford Escort. Of cocks. That's what I'm doing. I don't know. I don't even, half the people watching this probably don't even know what a Ford Escort is. It was their small, reliable car that they tried to put out there to compete with the, you know, like the Nissan Sentras and all those. All right. What have I talked about? I'm pretty sure I just burped into the microphone, and for that, I'm sorry. You guys, this is episode 2. I don't know. I guess I'm putting it out there. Let's love each other. It's a new day. And this stuff, it's going to play out, but it's not. There's no... it's over. And it will continue to be over. And moving, we all... whatever mess he makes on the way out, listen, he's going to... That's why, because he knows he's going to get caught for a bunch of shit the second he's out the door. But, listen, you didn't do it. I didn't do it. Let's all get along. Let's love each other. And I'm going to say this. And I think I'm going to mean it more than I've ever meant it in my 2 days, 49 years on earth. God bless America.